Welcome back everyone to the Minecraft Forever world. This is episode 9 and there have been a few developments since our last episode in the world and out of the world. Hopefully you can hear an improved quality in my voice, and that's because I've bought a new mic and a mic arm as well, so that it's sitting above my desk. And you'll notice that I'm higher up than we were in our previous episode as well, and that's because we've built a staircase in Noel's Tower, with the idea being that Y95, you can see there in the top left hand corner, Y95 should bring us out nicely onto the hill here behind me. So the plan is that we cut these trees down, or at least core them out, build a little bridge across, and that way the top of the mountain here, or the top of the hill, is linked to the bottom of the hill through Noel's Tower, to give us another passageway. So if you've been watching the series up until now, you know that over in this direction as well we have a cave that links down underneath this lake. So essentially we have multi-platforms going on now. We have the top of the hill, we've this middle ground here, which is like where our village will be, our farm, all that kind of stuff, and then you've the Dwarven Kingdom below this lake as well. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. I was pleasantly surprised on Monday. I clocked into work. I was working from home, clocked into work, and just by default I opened up my own YouTube and I seen that there was 100 views on our last video. So that was a lovely surprise to get on a Monday morning on what was a pretty dreary day here in Ireland because of the weather. So yeah, thanks very much guys. Hopefully we're on an upward trajectory with the channel, and hopefully this new mic will help. As a function of the new microphone though, however, I've had to use my my Dell keyboard that I got with work. It's just your bog standard Dell, doesn't light up, nothing pretty, but it's quiet, and this microphone is so good that it can pick up Orla moving around in the living room. So I need to work on my sound suppression, I guess, and maybe get new software to help with the kind of background noise, because noise warning, if I were to use my normal keyboard you'd hear this throughout the whole video as I'm talking, and I don't want to do that to you guys. It's bad enough that you can hear my mouse clicks. So look, it's a work in progress. We're celebrating, I think, 110 views on one of my videos, so we're very early days, and very much a beginner to this whole Minecraft, or this whole YouTube thing. But yeah, very nice to see, very nice to see. And I've just noticed that it took me probably, I want to say, 6 attempts to start this video, because I said, oh, welcome back, this is episode 8. It's like, no it's not, it's episode 9. Then another time my phone went off, another time I think I'd clicked into the wrong file or something like that as well. So I've just noticed that I don't have my notes list up. Normally what I do before the video is I make a little notes list just to keep me on track, and it keeps me honest, and it helps me with my timings as well, just so I'm not talking for an hour and a half and I have to cut half of it, But just using my shears there to cut some leaves, that's a good segue into some of the developments. So, of course, got some dirt. Keyboard's a little bit sticky, I'm not gonna lie. No, it's not the greatest, but look, we'll work on that. Yeah, so shearing leaves, that's a good segue, and we'll plant those saplings in a minute. You've seen over in Noel's Tower there's been some developments. You can actually see the staircase now, for at least for the foreseeable future until we build it up. But you'll see here as well that we have the cow farm. So just off screen, just the gameplay isn't great, guys. I'm cutting down trees, planting trees, cutting down trees, planting trees, just so I can get enough leaves to build here. So I only have 2 cows. I actually had around 8 or 9. because I didn't have enough torches, a creeper spawned, and so that I didn't die, jumped back, hit the creeper, and the creeper blew up and killed my cows. So we have, what, 5 here? I had way more. I wanted to start this video with a cow farm that we could get leather from, because I want to start working on an enchanting table. But look, these things happen. I still haven't died in this world yet, which is mad to me. It's not a hardcore world, for anyone that doesn't know that. But, you know, I've gone 46 days without dying, and as you've seen, we don't have armor or anything like that. So I think I am playing it safe. You know, we haven't actually like been on a big kind of mining expedition, really. So like, you know, the risk there is low, but it is something we're gonna have to do, because you know, we're 46 days in and we don't have diamonds or anything like that. And you know, comparison is the thief of joy, right? See, there's the visuals are a little bit funky. I don't know, is it kind of teething problems that they're trying to figure out or what, but there's a little bit of funkiness that goes on. The new visuals update. Yeah, like comparison is the thief of joy, you know. I'm not trying to be one of these guys that does 100 days hardcore world and you know I make these crazy machines and stuff like that. I'm really just playing at my own pace. But nonetheless, you can use those kind of videos and let's plays and stuff on YouTube as a baseline. You know, you don't want to have 25 videos on YouTube and you're still using leather armor and stone tools, you know. So that's the kind of stuff I think I'm gonna do offline, to spare you guys, you know, kind of the mundane tasks, you know, the farming, the mining, kind of stuff. At the moment, this keyboard isn't the worst, I suppose, but what I was thinking of doing is recording the gameplay and then doing a voiceover. Basically, so you're getting the best of both worlds, and I am too. You know, Minecraft is pretty chill, but if we were playing a kind of a more intense game, I think I would want to have my keyboard, just to I can feel the difference, you know. But look, we're not there yet. And I suppose speaking of other games and you know, kind of expanding the channel and all that kind of jazz, Tales of the Shire, I believe, is coming out on the 29th of July. It's either the 19th or the 29th. Very excited for that. Love Lord of the Rings, and yeah, I think we'll definitely be taking a look at Tales of the Shire. Get up here. Hopefully none of the mobs can get it. I don't think. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be a game that we play on this channel. The gameplay doesn't look too crazy. You know, it's hardly Counter-Strike, right? So we probably don't need the keyboard for that. But yeah, look, you know, I don't need to justify this. I have a nice keyboard. I want to use it. Do you know what I mean? That's the end of the story, really. You know. So yeah, I don't know a huge amount about Tales of the Shire. I've been following it, but not closely. So very eager to find out what that is. What it entails. Obviously, I know it's a farming game. You know, you have the kind of Paleo Pines, Stardew Valley approach. You know, little farming sim where you befriend villagers and you know build relationships over time. That kind of feel to it. You know. But I'm really hoping they've put a special kind of Tolkien spin on it. And yeah, excited to find out what that is. So I'm just planting some trees. I think just because of where we are in the world, like this cow farm is essentially done, right? I just need to get a bit more cobblestone, smelt it down, maybe make this stone bricks as we talked about before, you know, putting stone bricks under the leaves, which I'm not going to sit here and talk to you guys for an hour doing. So what I might do now is take a quick cut, we're a little bit low on food as well, eh? So I think what I'll do is I'll expand this farm, because we now have cows to feed, and chickens, actually. Expand this farm, sort out these trees, and get myself a little bit of food as well in the meantime. So yeah, I'll meet you back in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. Time flies when you're easily distracted. So I was planting the crops, trying to generate seeds to get more wheat, to make more cows, and I said that we would turn this into our little food storage area, with the idea being eventually that the floor here would be like ice for storing food, so, you know, the way they would have traditionally stored food. And I suppose my creative side got the better of me, and instead of just digging out the cave and putting a chest in here like I intended to, I converted it into, you know, a little storage area. So, you know, you can see the vibe we're kind of going for is kind of rustic, old-fashioned vibe. The necessary equipment, and campfire here for cooking. You'll notice as well in my hotbar I have honeycomb now, and that's because I have built campfires in any of the bee nests around here. So I'll just show you very quickly. There's one here, there's one up by the cows, there's one beside Noel's tower, and the reason that we're going after honeycomb now is because, one, I want to give it the spring court kind of vibe, that everything is alive and thriving like it would be in spring. But I noticed this area is quite nice, so I was trying to grow sugarcane and I brought it down here. So I thought it would look nice to kind of run it maybe from here around in an arc, you know, and almost like make a fence out of sugarcane. But you'll notice that, you know, the hill here is elevated away from the water, which doesn't suit. It's like, right, skip that. I'm not bothered terraforming this area just for sugarcane. There's water over there, and that's where the sugarcane is now residing. But I thought this was a nice little hollow. You know, you can see the land kind of dips down. The land is high here, it's high here. There's a little hollow here. So I've decided this is where we're going to put our beehives. So I already have the campfires in place. We're going to make... Do I have any on me? I don't, unfortunately. But we're going to get trapdoors, put them around the campfires to disguise the campfires, and then put the beehives on top. In order to make beehives, for those of you that don't know, you need honeycomb. So that's where the honeycomb came from and why we're going after it. Bees can be used to improve your crops as they pollinate, so it's hard to demonstrate here because they're just kind of randomly flying around, right? But if your hive is here and you place a flower there, the bees will trace a line back and over to the flower. From their hive, flower, hive, flower. And if you put crops in the middle of that, as the bees fly over and back, they pollinate your crops. Which I think is really, really cool. And, you know, in a previous episode, we spoke about Minecraft and kind of educating kids. That's so important, you know, like, they're not just insects, you know, they're a critical part of the ecosystem. You know, you hear save the bees, save the bees. You hear this everywhere, and I don't think a lot of people really get the scale at which these pollinating insects contribute to our world. That is the human world, I mean. So to include that in a little game like this, it's not so little anymore, but, you know, a relatively simple game, we'll say, to include that as a mechanic where people can place hives on this side of their farm, flowers on this side of the farm, and benefit from that. That is what happens in real life. You know, if you're growing rapeseed, it's beneficial to your crop to put bees, to put a couple of hives in your field. And I believe in Ireland, and possibly the UK, there's a subsidy for doing so. So if you're a farmer, you're growing a crop, I'll just use the example of rapeseed again, you can get money from the government to buy bees and use the bees to increase your yield. It's better for the environment than using pesticides and fertilizer and stuff like that. Much better for the environment. and the bees, the farmer obviously benefits from the bees improving their yield, but it also improves the surrounding area. So bees have they can fly in from their hive. We'll say, if you imagine a circle, the center of the circle is their hive. They can fly in a 3 mile radius around that hive. So if the field is, whatever it is, a couple acres big, we'll say 5 acres, the bees fly much, much farther than that to get their food, So it's immensely important, and it's really, really cool that they're in this game. And it won't happen this episode, obviously, but we will be going deep into bee lore. Because I'm a beekeeper myself. I've mentioned it in a couple of videos before. I have my own beehive. I'm a beginner, don't get me wrong. I'm by no means an expert. A lot of the information that I just gave you guys is regurgitated, I'm still a beginner. Do you just pollinate that? No, not yet. I'm still a beginner. I've only had my hive a couple of weeks. In those couple of weeks, I've learned so much, and I suppose as part of my channel is to raise awareness about the environment, talk about things I think is important, the kind of humanitarian side of things, if you like, and bees are a big part of that. So we're going to be talking about bees a lot. If you're interested in that, great, please stick around. If you're not, there are many other topics I talk about because I get distracted. I get very distracted by things. It's a miracle I haven't been distracted yet on this little spiel about bees. But yeah, that's where these came from. Campfires luckily are very easy to make. It's like wood planks or wood slabs, sticks, and charcoal or coal. Very easy to make, very cheap to make. So that's why we were able to make so many so quickly. And I do think it adds to the overall vibe of the area. Maybe it's difficult, I guess, for you guys to see or imagine, because I have the vision in my head of where I want to take this area. But look, trust the process, and and you'll see. Whatever, we're on episode 9 now. Maybe by episode 25, you'll see what I mean. The Spring Court in A Card of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It's a series, and I've mentioned this before, I believe, but just for anyone who doesn't know, there's different courts in this fantasy version of the UK and Ireland, and one of the courts is the Spring Court, and it's in the name. It's perpetual spring, so everything is teeming with life and vibrance. The rise of the living, really, is what spring is, and that's reflected in the Spring Court. There's flowers everywhere. There's, at least the way I imagine it when I'm reading the books, it's these lovely, like, intricate gardens, and it's like a meadow, almost like the Cotswolds, I think, is what I imagine the Spring Court is like. So yeah, hopefully we can translate that vision into this area over the next few episodes. But regardless of theme and vision and what I want the area to look like, there are some basic tasks that need to be done. So the bees aren't just to make the area look pretty. They do have a function, and that area will be our decorative bees. But over time, I want to develop this farm to show you very quickly before it gets too late. This farm is not what I want it to be. This area here is hideous. Look at this overhang. Not what we want at all. Eventually what I want to do is basically blend the hills here into crops. So like this whole area will be carrots and potatoes and wheat. And if we do get add-ons, the intention would be to get a farming add-on or a food add-on. And that will bring new crops to the area, and that will just keep our area expanding. So I think, like, traditionally in I do. Let's see. Cows take any more wheat. Hopefully a creeper doesn't blow us up. On that topic, we'll put a torch there as well. No one interested? We've won. Great. It's a little bit dark back here. The torches as well, they're not lads. That's a problem for tomorrow. Here's a great demonstration, just because we're here anyway. So, like in real life, you have to smoke the bees. So why do you smoke the bees? It's not just to put them to sleep. Bees have this kind of reaction to smoke, that there's a forest fire nearby or a bushfire, and they, upon smelling the smoke, they will start to consume their honey stores. The idea being is that there's a fire coming, we've all this valuable, very, very valuable honey that we need to keep our colony alive. We need to take that, if the fire comes to us, we need to take that honey with us. Because, you know, we're going to have to flee for our lives, basically. In doing so, when they eat this honey, not out of greed, but out of, you know, they're storing it for later. Like how birds eat their food, or birds can regurgitate fish and stuff like that. Bees, I guess, can do the same. And in eating all this honey in preparation for flight, they become really lethargic, and it kind of calms them down, and they chill out. And that's why, you know, in this state, they tend not to sting, or they're less aggressive. You know, when I go down to see my bees, this clown, like, what did I say about getting distracted, guys? The bees will get, you know, less aggressive, and they won't try sting you. So when I'm doing my bees, I wear a bee suit, so I can't really be stung. But it's uncomfortable when they're aggressive. Like, I think there's something within us, you know, like evolutionarily speaking, like humans, when you hear this noise, this aggressive buzzing noise, you know, let's get out of here. So even though I've been doing it for a few weeks, I've only been stung once. I've encountered probably thousands, tens of thousands of bees in the last couple of weeks. I've been stung once, and it was kind of my own fault. I still react to the noise, you know? So it's nicer for me, it's nicer for them if we're all chill. And that's what was displayed there. You take a campfire, you smoke the hive, you don't get stung. I won't do it now. You know, I'm sure there's a million YouTube tutorials out there on Minecraft bees. But if I were to take their honey, if I take my shears here, shear this nest without a fire, the bees will sting me. They'll become aggressive. And like in real life, if the bees sting you, they die. So it's within both of our best interests to use smoke. So yeah, another little bit of bee lore for you. It's a fan favorite in work. I think I'm the only beekeeper in my team, as far as I'm aware, and you know, it's a great discussion point for when we go for lunch and stuff in work. It's really easy to talk about, and people seem to be genuinely interested. I've yet to meet a person that isn't interested. There's a few people that are scared, naturally. Like, I think that's to be expected. You know, I think people can have phobias around insects or wasps or bees or whatever. Some people are allergic. You know, so if they get stung, they die, which we don't want, of course. So yeah, nonetheless, like even the people that are scared still react positively to hearing about the bees. And yeah, it's a lovely little hobby. I got into beekeeping because I wanted to do my bit for the environment, I guess. You know, as I mentioned earlier, this notion of save the bees. You're like, okay, well, what does that actually mean? Like, you know, And we all have different abilities, and we're all at different points in our lives, you know. So if you live in an apartment in New York, um, you don't have as much scope to hashtag save the bees as I do. You know? I'm lucky enough to live in the country where I have a bit of land, you know, a bit of free land to use. So I was able to get beehives. If you live in an urban estate, you know, if you live in the suburbs, maybe all you can afford to do is plant some bee-friendly flowers, you know, some pollinator-friendly flowers. That's fine. You know, don't be feeling guilty that you're not doing enough, or I could be doing more and I don't. As long as you're doing something, I think that's what matters. So yeah, I've always wanted to have bees. I've always wanted to do my bit for the environment, as I said, and yeah, last year I decided I was actually going to go do it. So signed up for a beekeeping course. We're with the, well, I actually won't say where, just so I don't doss myself. But we're with the beekeeping association. You know, it's like a group of beekeepers, and they train you. They bring you to their hives and show you, you know, because it is quite an expensive hobby, surprisingly so. Once you're set up, once you have all the gear and stuff like that, oh, I knew that was gonna happen. And you know, looking at that now, I don't think we'll use the spruce. I think we'll use birch, maybe. We'll have a look at the different whatchamacallit, trapdoors. We'll have a look at the different styles and pick. I think birch will go nicely with the beehive wood there. Yeah, so I signed up with this local group anyway. Did my training course, went to their hives a couple of times, went to the apiary, and yeah, got my colony a couple of weeks ago. So I won't go into too much more detail about the bees this episode. It definitely will be a reoccurring theme, I think, as we go. Because throughout the calendar year, distractions, a shovel. That's what I was doing. I want to do the stone bricks, and I need a shovel to do so. Throughout the calendar year, different things happen. So naturally, as I'm recording, I'll have good news, I'll have bad news, and you know, I'll talk about that as it comes up. All going well, hopefully, by August, end of August, we will have a honey harvest. We'll actually take some of our honey from our hives and put it in jars and stuff like that. And if that happens, hopefully it does. It's very, very weather dependent. It's unbelievably so. If the weather is bad, you're having a bad year for honey. So yeah, look, if things go well, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get some honey, and if we do, I might put it on screen. I might take a picture of my honey and include it in one of my videos, just so you guys can see. And I mean, for no other reason than I find it interesting, I think other people find it interesting, but also it might inspire someone else to pick it up, you know? I think especially the age that I am, I'm definitely one of the younger members in our beekeeping club. And I'm really kind of proud of that, you know. It's like there's certain I don't know what the term is. There's certain societal views on flowers and gardening and stuff like that. I think gardening is fairly unisex. You know, like gardening isn't a man's thing or a woman's thing per se. You know, socially speaking. So, you know, there is quite a mixed group in our club, but for someone my age to be like, yeah, you know, I have a bit of space at the bottom of the garden, and yeah, I keep bees. It doesn't seem to be that common. among my age group. And to be fair, it's probably because not a lot of people my age own land. This land that I'm talking about, it isn't mine. It belongs to Orla's family. We're just very lucky and very privileged to live here. And that's why I can afford to get a hive and look after my bees week to week. So yeah, hopefully you find that interesting, because I've just spoken like unbroken for about 20 minutes. And that's just the iceberg, you know. Nearly everyone I speak to, they're like, Jesus, like I didn't realize how much there is to it. Like, yeah, neither did I. Um, it is. It's just such a vast topic to talk about. You could spend, if there's a Wikipedia, I'm sure there is. If there's a wiki, you could spend hours going into this stuff. You know, math comes into it. You know, weather comes into it. Just like history, even if you're a history buff, if you like history, the history of beekeeping is mind-blowing. And like I quite like my history. For those of you that have been listening, you know that. I think I like my history, and like the history of beekeeping, and it's amazing. It's mind-blowing. That we've kind of grown as a species with these little insects, you know? Yeah, fascinating stuff. But look, I think I won't go on too much longer about bees. I think we're coming up on time anyway. I don't want to make these videos too long. So yeah, look, another episode where there's a lot of me running from here, running to there, running to this place. But you know, look at this, for example. I think at the start of the episode we might have only had 2 or 3 rows. We've developed that. We've got our little food shelter set up, so when we do get 1 billion seeds, anyone that's played Minecraft knows, seeds are a problem. After a while, you get too many. We've somewhere to store them. Our food can go in there. Our cows are set up. You know, I think we started the episode with 2 adults and 3 babies, thriving. I have been neglecting my chickens, but like chickens, if we go in here right now, I'm sure we'll get at least a couple of eggs. Is that all? 2 eggs? 3 eggs. 4 eggs. Perfect. So we should get at least 1 chicken. No, not today. I think it's 1 in 4, right? I can't remember. Maybe it's 1 in 6. I can't remember the spawn rate. But you know, things are moving and they're getting faster. You know, so like the wheat farm, for example. The more wheat you have, the more seeds you get. The more wheat you get. You know, it's a cycle. So things are only going to start speeding up from here. We're on day 52. Who cares? Who's counting? You know? It's there to keep me honest, not to hold me accountable, really, you know? So, like, even this, look at this lovely area that we've developed in 1 episode. And, I'll just show you quickly in case I haven't. You know, let's not forget about our cave as well. Our mine shaft. I must light this area up. Stunning. I nearly put this on a loop for you guys. I might stand here for a minute and record the rain noises in this lovely moon, at the risk of being murdered. But lovely. Absolutely stunning. What a game. So yeah, as I was saying, things will start to speed up. You know, one of my favorite bits. I think that's a sign to finish, guys. One of my favorite parts of Minecraft is the beginning. It's the finding your feet. You you know, one of my favorite books is Swiss Family Robinson, and it's very much that. It's finding your feet, setting up your little farm, surviving. Everything after that is just a bonus, in my opinion. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm quite proud of the area that we've got going here. Big plans for the future. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the bees. And yeah, look, until next time, guys, look after yourselves. Spread love, spread peace. Look after your fellow person. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.